there's a kind of emptiness that doesn't feel like sadness. Your life might actually be going fine. You still laugh, you still make plans, you still have good days. You just don't look forward to them the way you used to. Things happen, and you know how you are supposed to feel. You receive good news, buy something you wanted, make plans for the weekend. For a moment, something rises in you, then it disappears. So you reach for your phone. You open one thing, then another. You search without knowing what you're searching for. Not because you're enjoying it, but because silence feels even flatter. And lately, even the things meant to help have started feeling the same. A new goal, a new purchase, a different routine, another promise that life will feel better once something changes. But when it arrives, it becomes ordinary almost immediately. Even dreams become ordinary once you begin living inside them. The strange part is, you remember being different. You remember when a song could change your mood, when waiting for something felt electric, when an ordinary night could somehow feel important. Now, you need more just to feel less. And because your life isn't falling apart, you don't know how to explain this. You may even feel guilty. Other people would be grateful for what you have. So why does your own life sometimes feel as though it's happening behind glass? Maybe nothing is wrong with your life. Maybe your ability to feel it has been trained somewhere else. You are becoming increasingly dependent on what comes next to rescue you from what is happening now. The next plan, the next achievement, the next version of yourself. But if every ordinary moment is only something to get through, one day you may look back and realize this was it. So, tonight, we aren't going to ask how to make life more exciting. We're going to ask something more uncomfortable. Why does life need to excite me before I can feel it? And when did everything I wanted begin feeling better before it was mine? Because before something becomes yours, it can still save you. The trip is perfect while it lives on your calendar. The new home contains a life you haven't disappointed yourself in yet. The person you're waiting for seems capable of ending a loneliness they never created. From a distance, every desire is allowed to remain flawless. Your imagination removes the ordinary parts. It doesn't show you the quiet afternoon after the celebration, the familiar view from the new window, or the morning when the person you once longed for becomes another human being standing beside you. It only shows you how different you will feel when the waiting is over. Then the moment arrives. You open the package, reach the goal, enter the room you once pictured yourself standing in. For a little while, reality matches the promise. Your mind stops treating it as something extraordinary. What once represented an entirely different life becomes part of the background of this one. Nothing failed, nothing was taken from you. The feeling simply couldn't remain new. That should be harmless. Instead, it can feel like evidence that you chose the wrong thing. Maybe the goal wasn't large enough. Maybe this relationship isn't right. Maybe happiness is still waiting somewhere beyond your current life. Another possibility appears, carrying the same promise in a different form. This is how anticipation quietly becomes more rewarding than experience. Wanting gives you movement. Having asks you to be still. Movement feels like progress, while stillness leaves you alone with whatever the achievement couldn't change. Desire isn't the enemy. Without it, nothing would be created, explored, or transformed. But desire becomes dangerous when every future pleasure requires the present moment to feel insufficient. Eventually, you stop wanting things because they matter. You want them because wanting is one of the last places where you still feel something. Yet even anticipation has grown weaker lately. More novelty is required, more possibilities, more reasons to check, search, and imagine. Your attention didn't become this restless on its own. Something has been training it. It rarely feels like training. It feels like checking one message while you wait, watching something during dinner, filling the quiet before sleep with voices belonging to people you'll never meet. None of it seems important enough to change you. Your attention is being taught to expect interruption. Every few seconds brings a new face, a new thought, a new reason to feel curious, irritated, amused, or afraid. Before one emotion can fully form, another replaces it. Your mind adapts. A quiet room begins to feel empty. A slow conversation seems difficult to follow. Music plays while you scroll because one source of stimulation no longer feels sufficient. Even rest needs something happening in the background. Perhaps you've caught yourself closing an app only to reopen it seconds later. There was nothing you wanted to see. Your hand moved before the desire even arrived. This isn't weakness. Your surroundings have simply become very skilled at offering your mind what ordinary life cannot provide, endlessly. Novelty without effort, emotion without intimacy, movement without direction. Real life unfolds at a different speed. People pause before answering. Books take time to reveal themselves. A walk may offer nothing remarkable for several minutes. Meaning often arrives quietly, long after excitement would have abandoned the moment. A mind accustomed to constant arrival can mistake that slowness for absence. Nothing is happening. Nothing is worth noticing. Nothing reaches me. The world didn't lose its depth. Your attention lost the patience required to enter it. This is why removing the noise can feel uncomfortable at first. Beneath it, you don't immediately discover peace. You discover restlessness. Thoughts left unfinished. Feelings that never had enough silence to introduce themselves. The noise may exhaust you, but it also protects you from meeting whatever remains when nothing is demanding your attention. Eventually, even constant stimulation stops feeling stimulating. Everything becomes louder. Nothing becomes clearer. You keep searching for something powerful enough to break through, unaware that every new interruption raises the distance it must travel to reach you. Yet, noise is only part of this emptiness. Some of it began in moments that were supposed to make you happy. There is a loneliness that appears only after life gives you what you asked for. Few people warn you about it. Everyone understands disappointment. You wanted something, it didn't happen. Of course it hurts. But what are you supposed to feel when it did happen? You worked for months, perhaps years. The goal gave your days direction. Difficult mornings had a reason. Sacrifice felt temporary because it was carrying you somewhere. Your mind built a doorway in the distance. Beyond it, you imagined relief. Then you crossed through. The celebration ended. People congratulated you. Life became quiet again. Only now, the doorway was gone. Maybe you thought reaching that number would make you secure. Perhaps you believed being chosen would finally make you feel worthy. You expected the new beginning to silence an old uncertainty. Instead, you arrived as the same person. The achievement changed your circumstances. It couldn't become your identity, heal your history, or teach you how to inhabit an ordinary Tuesday. This can create a private shame. You don't want to seem ungrateful. You may have what someone else is praying for. Admitting that it didn't transform you feels almost disrespectful. You smile when people ask how it feels. Amazing, you tell them. Later, when no one is watching, you wonder why the moment seemed larger from far away. The goal had been doing more than promising a reward. It had protected you from stillness. As long as you were pursuing something, you never had to ask who you would be without the pursuit. Arrival removes that protection. For the first time, there is no obstacle to blame, and no future milestone close enough to answer the deeper question: what exactly was I expecting this to fix? Emptiness after achievement doesn't mean the achievement was meaningless. It means no achievement can carry every meaning you placed inside it. Without another mountain to climb, the open space can feel unbearable. Many people immediately choose a new destination, not from inspiration, but from fear of standing still. Because when life stops demanding your effort, something unfamiliar enters the room: boredom. Most of us will do almost anything to avoid meeting it. Boredom is rarely the absence of something to do. It is the moment nothing is helping you escape yourself. At first, the discomfort seems harmless. Your body shifts, your hand reaches for something. A screen lights up before you've consciously decided to touch it. Within seconds, the feeling is gone. But boredom was trying to show you something. Without entertainment, work or conversation directing your attention, you begin to notice what has been waiting beneath them. A sadness without a clear cause. A decision you keep postponing. The suspicion that you've been busy for a long time without feeling genuinely involved in your own life. These thoughts don't always arrive as words. Sometimes they appear as restlessness. You walk into another room. Check the time. Look for a task that suddenly feels urgent. Anything that gives the moment a purpose. This is why doing nothing can feel more exhausting than working all day. Activity organizes your attention. Stillness gives it nowhere to hide. Boredom also removes the identity that busyness provides. When you're producing, solving, or pursuing, you know who you are. Your value appears measurable. A completed task can prove the day mattered. An empty hour offers no such evidence. It asks whether you can exist without improving, displaying, or distracting yourself. Most people were never taught how. Childhood may have been the last time boredom felt open rather than threatening. An uneventful afternoon could become anything. You watched shadows move across a wall, invented stories, followed an insignificant curiosity simply because it appeared. Nothing needed to justify your attention. Eventually, empty time became wasted time. The culture around you rewarded speed. Productivity became virtue. Rest had to be earned. Even pleasure needed to be optimized, recorded, or shared. No wonder stillness now feels like failure. Yet boredom is not a dead end. It is an unmarked entrance. Stay near it long enough and your senses begin returning. A thought finishes itself. A buried preference becomes audible. The world regains details that urgency had erased. Before that happens, there is a period when nothing feels rewarding. That threshold is where most people turn back. They fill the silence, choose another goal, and resume waiting for life to begin. Meanwhile, life continues quietly in the spaces they keep trying to escape. Most of your life will never announce itself while it is happening. There will be no music beneath it, no sudden certainty that this is a moment worth remembering. It will look like making coffee in the same kitchen, driving a familiar road, hearing someone you love moving through the next room. Because nothing exceptional is happening, you assume nothing important is happening. Your attention moves ahead, towards Friday, the vacation, the promotion. The day you finally feel different, the present becomes a hallway you hurry through on your way to somewhere else. Years can disappear this way. Not because they were empty, but because you were waiting for them to become more interesting before allowing yourself to enter them. Think about the moments you miss now. Many probably seemed unremarkable when they belonged to you. A conversation you didn't know would be the last. A pet waiting beside the door. A younger version of your face reflected in a window you passed every morning. Their value became visible only after they could no longer be repeated. Memory has a strange way of illuminating what attention once ignored. You rarely miss the entire year. You miss the texture of it. A voice from another room. The light at a certain hour. The feeling of being surrounded by people whose presence seemed permanent. Back then, you were likely waiting for something too. This doesn't mean Every second must become sacred. That demand would only turn presence into another task you could fail. Some days are tiring. Some hours truly are forgettable. Life contains repetition, because repetition is what allows anything to become familiar enough to feel like home. The danger begins when you treat familiarity as evidence that a moment has no value. A life cannot be made entirely from peaks. Remove the uneventful days, and there is almost nothing left to hold them together. Perhaps fulfillment has felt distant because you were searching for it only in experiences intense enough to interrupt you. Meanwhile, quieter forms of happiness kept arriving without asking to be noticed. Warmth, belonging, enough. They didn't feel like excitement, which made them easy to misunderstand. Maybe happiness was never supposed to feel the way you were taught to chase it. Excitement asks for more. Happiness is often the moment more is no longer required. That may be why you've overlooked it. Excitement is easy to recognize. It accelerates the body. It sharpens anticipation. It makes the future appear brighter than the room you're standing in. Happiness can be almost invisible. It may feel like your shoulders lowering when you enter a familiar place. Eating without rushing. Sitting beside someone without needing the silence to end. Nothing rises dramatically inside you. Nothing needs to. Yet we often use the word happiness to describe intensity. The best night. The perfect relationship. The moment everything finally changes. This creates an impossible standard. A feeling designed to visit briefly becomes something you expect to live inside permanently. When it fades, you assume happiness has left with it. Perhaps it was only excitement that left. What remained may have been quieter and more durable, but you are already searching for the next emotional peak. Peace can feel strangely empty when you're accustomed to being stimulated. Stability may resemble boredom after years of uncertainty. A healthy connection can seem less powerful than one that repeatedly makes you fear losing it. Intensity convinces you that something matters because you can feel it forcefully. But pain is intense too. Urgency is intense. Confusion can occupy your entire mind without adding anything meaningful to your life. The strength of a feeling does not prove the value of its source. Real happiness may be closer to recognition than exhilaration. For one unguarded moment, you recognize that nothing essential is missing. The moment doesn't promise to last forever, which is precisely why you can receive it without asking it to become more. A warm room during bad weather, someone remembering a small detail about you, your body carrying you through another day. These experiences don't demand attention. Their quietness is part of what makes them easy to lose. Learning to feel them again doesn't require pretending everything is beautiful. It requires questioning the belief that only powerful feelings count. Once excitement is no longer the measure, another question appears. What gives a life meaning when no one is watching it? A surprising amount of your life may be shaped by an invisible audience. Even when you're alone, part of you is imagining how the moment would appear from the outside. Would this achievement impress anyone? Does this choice make me interesting? Could this experience become proof that my life is going well? The audience doesn't need to be real. It can live entirely inside your mind, assembled from people you admire, envy, love, or still hope to prove wrong. Its approval gives certain moments weight. Its absence can make others feel pointless. You may cook a beautiful meal, then feel a strange disappointment when there is no one to show. Reach a private milestone, only to wonder whether it counts before someone acknowledges it. Visit somewhere extraordinary while quietly arranging the memory for people who aren't there. The experience becomes divided. One part belongs to you. The other is already leaving. There is nothing shameful about wanting to be witnessed. Human beings have always needed recognition. Being seen by the right person can return us to ourselves. But a life built primarily for observation slowly becomes difficult to inhabit. You begin choosing what appears meaningful over what feels meaningful. Your preferences grow quieter beneath the pressure to make them understandable, admirable, or useful. Eventually, you may lose track of what you enjoy without an audience. Consider what remains when nobody can reward you. The music you play alone. The care you give when gratitude is unlikely. The subjects you explore despite having no talent to display. The small promise you keep, even though breaking it would go unnoticed. These choices reveal something public success cannot. They show where your attention moves when it is free. Perhaps meaning is less about being recognized and more about recognizing what quietly matters to you. A private life is not an insignificant life. Some of its most honest moments will leave no evidence, no photograph, no applause, no story polished enough to tell later. They will simply belong to the person who was present for them. Recovering that presence begins with something almost embarrassingly simple. You have to notice where you are. A life can only reach you through the attention you give it. This is why changing your circumstances hasn't always changed how living feels. You carried the same distracted attention into the new home, the better job, the relationship you once imagined would transform you. The scenery changed, your way of seeing it remained untouched. Learning to notice again is not a demand to feel grateful for everything. Forced appreciation only adds guilt to moments that already feel distant. Attention begins before gratitude. It begins when you allow something to exist without immediately asking what it can give you. The sound of water moving through pipes before the house wakes. Cold air entering a warm room. The brief expression on someone's face before they decide what to say. Nothing about these details is extraordinary. That is precisely why they can restore something in you. They ask for no achievement. They cannot be collected. Their value disappears the moment you try to turn them into proof that you're living correctly. You simply meet them. At first, this may feel underwhelming. A mind trained by constant novelty expects reality to reveal itself immediately. But the world becomes more detailed the longer you remain with it. A familiar song contains an instrument you never heard before. The street you travel every day changes with the hour. Someone you thought you knew becomes mysterious again when you stop preparing a response and listen. Attention does not make life perfect. It makes life specific. Your days stop blending together because you are finally present for the differences between them. Sensitivity returns gradually. A quiet pleasure lasts a few seconds longer. Silence stops feeling like an emergency. The urge to escape still appears, but you no longer have to obey it the instant it arrives. Nothing dramatic announces this change. You must simply realize that you finished a meal without reaching for your phone, that a conversation stayed with you, that for part of an afternoon you weren't waiting for anything else. The world had not become more exciting, it had become closer. Once life is close enough to feel again, you begin to understand how much of it was beside you all along, including the parts you nearly dismissed as ordinary. The life you've been waiting for may never arrive as a separate life. It may arrive as a different relationship with the one already here. The same morning, the same responsibilities, the same familiar people whose presence became invisible only because it was reliable. Nothing needs to become extraordinary before it can become real again. For years, you may have divided existence into two parts. The moments that mattered, everything between them. Milestones became the story. Ordinary days became background scenery, useful only because they carried you toward the next memorable event. But the background was where you actually lived. It held the meals no one photographed, The private jokes that would mean nothing to anyone else. The countless evenings when nothing changed, yet you were safe enough to stop paying attention. You weren't foolish for overlooking them. The world taught you to search for what was newer, larger, and easier to display. Familiarity looked like emptiness. Peace looked like inactivity. Enough looked like settling. There is no need to abandon ambition or pretend small moments satisfy every human longing. You are allowed to want more. You are allowed to change what hurts. The difference is whether the future guides your life or continually removes you from it. A goal can offer direction. It cannot experience the day on your behalf. Excitement will return in flashes. A new beginning will awaken you. A long-awaited moment will finally arrive. Then it will become familiar. This is not life disappointing you. It is life asking to be loved after the novelty's gone. Some days will still feel flat. Some silences will remain uncomfortable. Attention will wander. Old habits will return. And the present will occasionally seem too quiet to matter. But now you may recognize what is happening. You are no longer waiting for existence to prove itself before you participate. The room around you becomes a place instead of a pause. The person beside you becomes someone instead of part of the scenery. An uneventful hour becomes an hour of your life. Perhaps nothing had stopped reaching you. Perhaps your attention had simply been sent too far ahead to receive it. All this time, excitement hadn't vanished. You had trained it to live somewhere else, in the future. The future will still be there. It simply doesn't need to carry everything you hope to feel. Nothing more has to be chased, solved, or transformed before this moment is allowed to belong to you. If these quiet explorations help you recognize something within yourself, you're always welcome back to Inner Forge. There will be more questions waiting here. Not to offer easy answers, but to help you hear what your life may have been saying beneath the noise. For now, let the words end here. Let the music take their place. Whatever comes after this, perhaps it won't need to be extraordinary before it reaches you.